Hi everyone, it's me Carol from Practical Mystic, and this is going to be a little different, a special segment. My next part of the Pythagorean triangle is going to be divided into two ways. I'm going to be calling this part 9a, and the reason I am doing this is because of the rich mysticism and meaning of our next number in our discussion, and that is the number 5. Where it sits in the triangles, you will understand more fully in later videos because of how it connects what is called planes of expression. So today, because there is so much information that I think is important, that is interesting, that falls in the category of our search for understanding the mysteries and how the numbers are so instrumental and symbolic in representing the spiritual world. So let me begin like I always do and tell you what Pythagoras said. Now, Pythagoras said that the number 5 represents the marriage of heaven and earth. Now, you are going to understand that if you don't already from previous videos where we saw that we broke down the rows of numbers and we said this was the head. We said this was the emotions, the guts, the solar plex, let's even say the soul. And then 1, 4, and 7 was the bottom of the triangles, and that represented the earth, our grounding, where the action is. So if Pythagoras says that 5 is the marriage of heaven and earth, we can look at heaven having to do with the divine plane above. And of course, the lower plane, the material world, is earth. And 5 unites the two. Now, he went on also to say that number 2 is the feminine, even vibration that marries or combines with 3, the first odd male vibration, and together they form 5. 2 and 3 are 5. And that is important because 5 is the number of man. Now, where do we see that? Esoterically, we know it is the 5-pointed star. You can see this on your monitor, yes. Okay, now the 5-pointed star kind of shows man being dual. He is human and he is also divine, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. This 5-pointed star is also known as the pentagram, where his head is erect, his arms and legs are stretched out. And since the number represents man, it also represents the 5 senses. So when his head, his mind are used to interpret and make choices and decisions to what he's going to do and where he's going to live and what is happening in his world, then he is definitely empowered. There is also what is called the mystical wand. Okay. And basically, the mystical wand is an upright pentacle, but you're also seeing flames, and I apologize for the artwork. It's not perfect, but you get the message. The pentacle has flames coming out of the tips. So let me bring back the man, the 5-pointed star, the pentagram, and I want you to see that flames then come out of the head, the fingers, and the feet. These are your power points. And that when man is illuminated and evolved and perfected, then he has the ability to take the mystical wand into his hands and perform miracles. Now, to connect the symbology, let's look at the mystical wand in the following way. Man is the only primate with 5 digits, 4 fingers and a thumb. He can raise his hands up to praise the divine. He can raise his hands stretched out and bless his surroundings, other people, his life. With his legs, he has the power to choose where he lives, where he works, where he goes. That is his grounding, because he makes a statement of where he is, his location, and his world around him is a picture of what he has done. Now, the other thing that we're seeing in this mystical wand, of course, is there is something to hold on to. This is called a rod. Now, a rod is basically representing man's spinal column. And we know that when we work in the metaphysical, mystical realm, that at the bottom of that spinal column lies a dormant serpent, coiled serpent, known as the Kundalini. And as the Kundalini rises, then you have penetrated the man, you have penetrated the 5 senses, you have ignited the 5 elements, and you have become illuminated, spirit-filled with flames of forces, energy, light, if you will, that emanates and radiates around you. And also you have perfected the 5 senses, okay? That's very important also. All initiates know that, okay. Now this power, the mystical wand, you can hold it, but if you haven't achieved these things, then this mystical wand is said not to be powerful. You cannot perform miracles with it. I will leave it there. The other thing that is important, that is all related, is how we use the enlightened man, the spiritual man, the one that holds the mystical wand and the power. Well, the upright pentagram, pentacle, is man uses his head, his arms, and his feet wisely. The inverted pentagram, initiates say that now it's reverse, where the head is now underground with the hands, and what is happening may be hidden or may be done in the dark. And the 2 points of the star, the 2 feet, have now taken the place of the divine mind, and you have 2 legs up there in what we call the spiritual realm. Now, what's fascinating of this is, number one, before I get into that, is number one, this is said to be an indication of the individual saying that he has his importance is more so than God or higher source, because it is inverted. It's almost like a slap in the face that you are burying your head in the earth and using your hands for personal gratification, and on and on. What I think and what is being done is really obscured, unknown. It's supposed to be hidden if your hands are not above the table. Okay, now his feet in the air is quite interesting because esoterically, the feet are said to represent understanding or the level of intellect. So, man's intellect, man's measure of his intellect, his understanding of his intellect. So he is thus placing his understanding of his own intellect above God in the higher realms. So that is just fascinating in the symbology. Resorting to the tarot, all of the pentacles in the suit of pentacles are upright. The only one that is reverse, of course, is in Major Arcana card 15, 1-5. And that is the devil. And here you can see the higher mind really right at, I would say, the third eye chakra here. You have the inverted pentagram, and the flames, the inspiration is down, and the symbology of his hands are very important, and they are facing up. So it's the reverse. Okay, so that is the mystical wands. And when man, I guess the only thing that I want to say about that is when man reverses his power, he is even going back to what Pythagoras said. I think I need to get that in because I think that's important. So having nothing to do with black magic, but when man abuses his power, man abuses the divine forces that he has been given. Pythagoras goes on to say that it tarnishes, it perverts both life, which is represented by number 2. Life is represented by number 2 because the 2 is the giver of life, and it also colors and perverts love because love is depicted. I'm sorry, that's the reverse. Love is number 2, the giver of life, and number 3 is life, man's life. So it ruins that. The combination of 2 and 3, man ruins everything around what he has created, or it affects what he's created, or it affects those things that he needed to be manifested, to be put in form. So I thought that was also important that the pentacle can build up, or the pentacle and the magic can bring down. Okay, now a little bit more about the mystical wand and its uses. Of course, I wanted to give you examples of what it's used for. It's used by the initiatives, the wise men, in all magical rites, both white and black. So this is used both ways. And it was said to have the power over all elementary forces. That means all 5 elemental forces. Now, in the Hebrew Bible, this is very interesting. It is said that Moses and his brother Aaron use this mystical wand to do God's bidding, or to be able to manifest those things that they were told to do. Moses told to do, to bring havoc in order to get the attention on what happened in Egypt and with his people. So it can be used for good, and it can be used for evil when it comes to rites and magical connotations. The other thing that I thought was interesting for me to bring to your attention is that in the book of Transcendental Magic, and I wanted to bring it out, I could not find it for the life of me. That book, I have read it, but I put it away. And it is by Eliphas Levi. I apologize, I just had a senior moment there. And in that book, he explains the five-pointed star. And basically, the pentagram signifies the domination of the mind. Remember, I talked about the magician, and the magician often represents the divine will of man, and how forceful the mind and the will are in creating magic, in manifesting magic. He also, I believe, went on to say that it is needed for astral light and astral power in that book, the Transcendental Magic. He also explains that magical power, I think the book went on to say how he experienced, and his initiates that he was teaching about magical power, and some of the forces were so great that they could not handle it, or their body. Remember, I said it was the perfected man. You have to be strong physically, mentally, emotionally to take on this energy, the full uplifting of the Kundalini, and a lot of them were not able to process or maintain or regulate and work constructively with the energy. So man has to go through stages of initiation. He also has to recognize his divinity and the importance of unfoldment in steps, that he can either evolve, which is what the upright pentacle does. It evolves, man heads upward, or he can transgress and become quite selfish, devious, basically thinking of himself and gaining power there. So lastly, I just want to say number 5 is a very powerful number. It has mystical meanings, it has mundane meanings, but I thought most of you are into the tarot, or into magic, or into mysticism, and I just wanted to present that for you today, and hope that it was interesting for you. And I will be back to do just the regular component with additional information about what the number 5 indicates and how many you have in your Star of David. If you don't have a number 5 in your Star of David, that will all be discussed in my next video. Thanks, everyone. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to email me or to leave it in the comments section. Bye for now.